and the floor is yours.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the May 5th Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for Henrietta. Appreciate everybody being here. It's about 3 minutes after 7. I'd like to start out with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
Thank you. All right, I'll do a roll call real quick. Robert Peckham here. Beth Mossworth.
Here.
John Miglerini.
Here.
Christian Chamberlain.
Here.
Heather Robinson.
Here.
Jesse Redlow.
Here.
And Timothy Harrington.
Here.
All present. I would like to ask for a motion for the approval of the minutes for last month.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the April 7th, 2021 minutes as presented.
Second.
Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None opposed. Minutes passed. Thank you very much, Jesse, and all. So with that, we got a busy night tonight, everyone. So we'll try to keep this as quick as possible. When we call your name, if you're in person, please come up to the podium, announce your name for the record and address. If you're on the air, the Zoom air, we will ask you to do the same, but obviously you don't have to come to the podium. Great. With that said, we're going to start out with application 2021-016, and that is Jason Gesford.
Yes, sir.
Hello, Jason. Welcome today. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Jason Gesford, 19 Armbruster Road.
Thank you, sir. Christian?
Mr. Gesford, hello. I had a couple of questions about what your final product or result is going to be for the driveway. So you essentially want to take out the half of the turnaround that goes back to Armbruster Road. And you want to just have essentially a turnaround?
Yeah, so basically the turnaround, it really doesn't function well for us because once you park a vehicle on that one side, you kind of have to move that vehicle to get out that way. And as for widening it, we kind of want to give our children more of an area to ride the bikes in the front yard, play basketball, move cars out of the way. And like I said, basically that turnaround, it would be exactly what that's for, to turn around.
Okay, are you keeping it so it's going to be kind of, you're going to be cutting off to make it more like a squared, or are you going to have it like what's the dimensions of the turnaround going to be when it's finished?
So the turnaround, it's actually going to be exactly what is already existing. It's just going to be dug out and repaved.
So dug out, repaved, so essentially it's going to, but it's still going to have that kind of turn like towards the house, or is it going to be?
Yes, that curve towards the house. Yeah.
Say it again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Yes, it's going to still have that curve towards the house.
Okay. And you're going to continue the driveway on the other side. You want 12 feet from the side of the house.
Straight down, yeah.
Straight out 12 feet, that is, sorry. And then you want to carry that all the way down to the road.
Yep.
Okay.
So it would be more uniform.
All right. And you weren't planning to do any other changes to the other side of the driveway, the side closer to the tree?
We're going to cut it out and basically topsoil or regrass seed it and all that. You're talking about the loop, correct?
Well, yeah, the loop, I know you're going to turn that back into green space. No, I meant where the,
North side. The
Sorry?
north side?
What size? Yeah, the side that the not the north side, basically the
Side that he crossed off.
yes.
So
Yeah,
The side across off is going to be turned to green space, but the actual width of the driveway at the road when it's finished is going
would
to
be 24 foot wide.
it'd be 24 feet from. So that's okay. It's 24 feet only. Okay, good.
Okay.
All right.
Just to clarify, all right, so you have the 12-foot extension on the map that you had drawn for us, and it goes all the way down to the road. Is that point there where it's going to start the 24 feet into the existing driveway, and then you're going to have to depending on the length, you might actually have to dig out some of the existing driveway. Is that your intent?
Yes, so basically the 12-foot, right now it's 10 feet. The extra 2 feet would make the whole driveway 24-foot wide, straight down.
And then there'd be the bump out to the side, which was already there. And that's the reason he has to come in for the 49.
Right.
Right.
Exactly, so the 49, it sounds horrible, but currently it's 102.
Yeah,
Well, it's not really because it's two pieces, right?
Well, no, it's not two pieces, they're connected.
it's all connected.
Technically, it's considered that 100.
Right.
Because it's the widest.
Sarah Hogan told me the widest point was 102 feet.
Mhm. Okay.
Kevin,
We're actually losing driveway, but it's actually gonna be more functional.
Right, you'll be able to use it, and right now it's not too
Exactly.
functional, yeah.
and Kevin, do we have a concern about the 24 feet at the end?
Yes, Mr. Gusford, it's Kevin Wilson, Director of Building and Fire Prevention. We do have, there is a concern with the width within the right-of-way, between the right-of-way and the actual road pavement. Our town code at that point is 20 feet max. The 24 that's in the code refers to the entrance, which is actually the flares, 2-foot flare on either side at the road. So what you're going to need to do is either come in for another variance.
A 24-foot wide entrance all the way.
So you're allowed the 24 foot if they grant it tonight for the driveway forward of the right of way. But at the right of way, you would have to actually reduce it to 20 feet. And then at the road itself can be flared out to the 24.
So instead of having it flared out, couldn't we just have 24 all the way?
No.
No, again, the way that the driveway code is written, 24 is at the entrance, which has been defined as the flares maximum width at the road.
So if it would be 24.
Just
No.
at the road, but you have to flare it back to 20 feet in width in the right of way. And then as you get past the right of way towards the house, then you can flare it back out to whatever is granted here tonight.
And the right of way is 2 feet in.
So you're saying it would be 24, 20, 24?
Yes.
Yes. Most driveways have a flare
I'm
at the road.
not. Right, I understand that. I'm not understanding why it couldn't just be 24 straight. That's it.
The code is written that way, and the highway department has say in what happens there because of infrastructure and other things that are potentially underground. And there is concern about that. And so because of that, they do have control over how wide it can be on that section. They allow you the 2-foot flare on each side so that you can have like the rounded corners, if you will, or the flared corners, I should say. So when you drive in, you don't go over the edge.
Okay.
But they do not allow it to be more than 20 feet at the right of way. The cost has been something that's a factor for the town upon repairs. So,
Yeah, I get it.
so we are happy to make a judgment on, or a ruling on this, and you're welcome to do that, but we just want to make sure that you're aware, if it goes all the way 24, that is not according to the ruling, okay?
Okay, I would like to, I'd like to come in and see how that would be drawn up. Because my understanding with talking with Tim Lesson and Chuck Marshall is that the right of way is 24 feet, like you said, and it wouldn't have been an issue to go straight up.
Nevertheless, for us, we don't have something here for the,
Right. So
Right.
there's not a variance request for the right of way from us. So we're only, you're welcome to come in and talk to us, that's not a problem, but we are only ruling on the driveway, not the right of way. Okay, just
Okay.
being very clear on that statement for you, okay? Minus that little technicality that we're talking about, do you have any other questions for us too?
So I would need another variance for the right of way, is what you're saying?
That is what I'm saying.
Okay,
And it's not a guarantee that Tim will agree. I will talk to Tim tomorrow and just
Okay.
what he talked to you about.
Yeah, just in conversation we were talking about, that's all.
Okay. Yeah, yep. I'll talk to him tomorrow and get a hold of you or have him call you.
Yeah, and I'll be talking.
Okay,
But anyhow, I just wanted to be clear on that, just so you understand exactly what we're saying. So it's not including the right of way that we're hearing today, okay?
okay.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? Heather or people in the audience, are there any questions from members of the audience that they have for this application? Okay,
I don't see anybody online.
thank you, Heather. So with that, this application is closed. Christian,
Give me 1 second here.
you got it.
All right.
Yep.
Okay, with regard to application number ZBA 2021-016, actually, we can see here, 017 is also here, right?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't say that.
Wait a minute.
Yep, 16 and 17.
I apologize. So also variance for the 12-foot wide driveway extension. So this is the piece of it that's at the,
Next to the
that goes
garage.
towards the back of the house,
Right. Okay, yeah,
which we inquired about, but I just didn't separate it in the conversation.
That's already there at 10 foot.
Yeah, he's asking for 2 more.
Yeah.
Or give or take.
right, I mean, I don't have a problem with that part either, I just make
Thank
sure
you.
we're okay with it too.
I am also okay with that. We're good.
Oh, good, okay, all right, so I can put them together?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good, all right. All right. Starting over, okay. With regard to applications number ZBA 2021-016 and 017 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variances will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The reconfigured driveway will not, I didn't finish my sentence. Will not be out of character in the neighborhood. The variances cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variances requested are not substantial. The applicant is scaling back the footprint of the existing driveway. The variances will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. Reconfigured, the driveway will increase the green space. Difficulty relating to the variances was self-created. The applicant desires the driveway to be reconfigured to better suit the property. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variances as presented.
I'll
Second.
Seconded by Heather. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Motions carry. Thank you.
All right, great, thank you.
Have a good day, Jason.
Thank you, sir. Have a good night.
You too.
Our next variance, which I know we said it a minute ago, 2021-018 is postponed due to some issues that came up that'll be taken up next month likely. 2021-019, it is Ishwar Mangar. I hope I said that correct. Please come up to the podium. Welcome. Please state your name and address for the record.
Kishore Mangar, 4 address, 4 Woodland Drive.
Thank you.
All right.
Heather, do you want to start with this?
Yes, so you guys are requesting a 4-foot fence in the front of your yard, which is a corner lot. And reading your application here, it seems like the main concern is going to be your children and your pets.
Yep.
Now, what is the material of the fence? Is it going to be chain link, vinyl,
It's gonna be chain metal.
chain
Yep,
link? Okay.
yep.
Is there any other purposes for the fence besides what you stated in your application?
Not really, just for children and the pet safety.
Okay. Do you think the 4 foot is going to be sufficient for your needs?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Great. Any other questions from board members? Are there any other questions from members of the audience in person? Or Heather, do you see any online on Zoom?
Nothing on Zoom.
Okay. With that, this application is closed. Heather, if you would.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, with regard to application numbers DBA 2021-019 for area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as other corner houses in the neighborhood have fences. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as the house is a corner house. The variance requested is not substantial, as the applicant is only requesting an additional 1 foot. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical and environmental conditions, as the fence should have no line of sight concerns. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. However, the purpose of the fence is for safety, as the house is located by a heavily trafficked road. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Christian seconds it. There's a fight for everyone. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. You'll get your paperwork in the mail. Thank you. Have a nice day. Next, we will be talking about application number 2021-020, Throng D. Tran. Kevin, I hope you got a lot of those. We got more.
Wall box.
Okay, so we should be good. Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Trong Tran, and my address is 504 Cochrane Road.
Okay.
Thank you. Could you, or Jesse, this is yours, you want to start?
So, Mr. Tran, could you just tell us a little bit about why you want this wider driveway?
Could you stand closer to the microphone?
I just want to make the turnaround a little bit bigger, so we on the main road, so it's just for the safety to turn around and go to the road is easier than backing out.
Okay.
Can I ask you about the construction process? We've seen pictures and done site visits, and it seems that currently the gravel is uneven at the current construction step in the process. Gravel is uneven. It appears to be wider than the drawings. It appears that there's a water pipe that's exiting. So can you tell us where it is in the process and what are the next steps?
The builder that was supposed to recreate the lawn, but it was done in the winter, so the ground was kind of hard, so they cannot do the grading. So they have to come back when the ground nice and soft, but have to be dry, so they can level them all out. And the driveway, he just done that, so they don't do the driveway. I have to hire a contractor to do the driveway, so they will come out and then we do the exact measurement for the.
So if the stone is currently down greater than the width of the 42 of the application, will they actually remove the excess stone so that it complies with the 42 feet?
Yeah, we will remove the leftover, the more than the 42 feet, right?
I think if this gets approved, when we vote for this, I think that's a stipulation I want to make sure we have on there as a component of this.
For the extra stone to be
Yeah,
removed?
for
Yes.
condition.
Duly noted.
Thank you. Go ahead, Heather, please.
So you stated that you wanted to have widen the driveway for the purpose of a turnaround. Have you looked into doing an actual turnaround instead of just widening the whole thing?
The turnaround is just like right in front of the garage and go forward a little bit and then close to the road and to the sidewalk is 20 feet wide and to the end will be flare out to 24 feet.
How many cars do you plan on parking there?
Right now I have 3 cars.
Do they go in the garage or on this turnaround section?
Right now we park on the driveway because the house is inside the garage. It's a lot of stuff in there, so I cannot put my car in there yet. So we only park out.
Will the turnaround that we're talking about, will that end up being parking space? Or will it actually be used for a turnaround?
We use it mostly for turnaround. We will park, summer we usually park outside, but winter I would love to park my car inside.
Understood. And Heather, I don't know if you got your question answered.
I did not. So you explained kind of what you plan on doing, but have you looked at a turnaround option for the purpose of the application that you requested? So instead of having it all the way out, you have a driveway to the side where you just back in and turn around.
Like your neighbor has at house 512.
Yeah,
Your neighbor has a very specific piece that we consider a turnaround,
Yeah.
where it's just a spot to move the car to face the other direction when you leave.
Mine is like in the front of the garage, a little bit bigger than my neighbor, because it would be a lot easier to turn around and then my kid can play on there too,
Okay.
So the challenge is that code says 20 feet and this is 42 feet and that's substantial. Worth noting though, the house to the left at 494 has the same relative shape that he's requesting in terms of not a dedicated turnaround, but just a wider driveway flaring at the house side.
And Mr. Tran, just to add some more clarity to this, so is part of why you need the larger turnaround, you mentioned you have a couple small children and you caretake for an elderly parent, correct?
Yeah.
So they need space to maneuver in and out of the vehicles as close to the house as possible?
Right.
Thank you.
What is the offset requirement, Kevin? 5 feet or 8?
Driveways are 8 feet to the property line.
So, and I see on the drawing, it says 8
18 foot.
something.
Looks like 8'1".
Jesse, would you also make sure that that's in there as a stipulation, just to be safe? That's at least 8 feet from the neighbor.
Yeah, he's got 18.7 feet to the property line. He's proposing 10 foot beyond the
So he should be
garage.
fine.
How many feet, Bob? 8?
At least 8. Well, actually, he's asking for 8'7"
Yeah.
Must be 8
From-
feet, 7 inches from the
Yeah.
neighbor.
From the end of the new driveway to the neighbor property line.
Correct. Where the wire fence is.
It looks though from the site visit that the current gravel goes beyond that and it goes very close to the neighbor's
Yeah,
property.
right now the gravel is laid right next to the property line, but we'll remove that
Yep.
one.
That'll be one of the requirements that we state in our resolution.
I just put it in as a condition, Tim.
Okay.
Okay,
And what of the drainage pipe that we saw?
no. Oh, I couldn't hear you.
What of the drainage pipe that we saw?
Well, that's part of what I was going to get to now. And Tim, I'm not ignoring you. I have a pattern here. Is there any more questions from the board?
I do not have any.
Okay, Heather, are there any questions from the audience? Because I believe this one does have questions from the audience, or indicated we would.
I'm not seeing, oh, hold on one second. I'm going to allow Dave to talk.
Yep.
Dave, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Yep. Well, my only question was about the drainage pipe. So you were about ready to talk to it.
So you're comfortable with our resolutions that we're discussing, and also what what Kevin, our building and fire enforcement, has stated?
Yeah, I spoke to Kevin yesterday and, he showed me the drawing that had the 8 foot. Again, that's looking at the existing stone. It goes right to the property line. So that's what I was asking about. He said, no, it's going to have to be dug out. So it's quite a bit of digging out. It's 50 foot of stone, 8 foot that they have to dig back out. And that was my concern, that, you know, they do want the paver people to show up before they dug out all that stone. Because again, it's 50 foot by 8 foot. They got to dig back out.
Yeah, that's obviously a substantial job. But if that's addressed, then you don't have any other questions based on that statement, I understand.
Correct. I just didn't know about the drainage pipe.
And it sounds like that's something that will be addressed with Kevin, and it sounds like we're in a good spot there. So
Yep.
Thank you for your feedback. I appreciate it. Mr. Harrington, does this answer your question and concern?
If the drainage pipe is going to be addressed with Kevin, then
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay, with that, I'd like to close this application, and Jesse, the floor is yours.
Bear with me on this one, folks.
Please, no problem.
So, Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number 2021-020 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as neighboring properties have turnarounds. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as alternatives will not meet the applicant's needs. The variance requested is substantial, but has been adequately justified by the applicant. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented. And be it further resolved that this approval shall be subject to the following conditions. 1, the removal of the excess stone beyond the 42 feet granted in this variance is required for compliance with this finding. And 2, the driveway must be 8 feet and 7 inches from the neighbor's property line.
Second. Seconded by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None are opposed. Your variances are granted, and they will send you information in the mail.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank
Good
you. Have a
night.
nice day. And beautiful house you built. Next, we have 2021 and 2020, oh, I'm sorry, 2021-021 and 2021-022. Todd and Patricia Stevens.
Hello,
Hi, how are you today?
good. This is Patricia and Todd Stevens at 101 Stagland Drive, Henrietta, New York.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hello, Mrs. Stevens. This is Tim Harrington. We spoke on the phone.
Hello.
Hello. So the summary is you have a couple conditions you're trying to resolve. You have a deteriorating driveway condition. You have a water underneath the driveway condition. You have a muddy portion near where your cars and family members are trying to exit. And you're trying to solve all those by replacing the driveway and adding a little extension on the back and the side to accommodate. Are there any other conditions that you want to share with the board?
No, it would be nice to not have my kids who are driving now back into the yard so I can get in and out of my garage. It's not, the driveway is not long enough for them to park their vehicles so I can get in and out of the garage. But when my husband has his work van and my 2 kids have their vehicles, there's like 4 inches between the cars to get out. So it would be really great if we had a little more space so it would be safe to get in and out of their vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
So the 3 foot that you're requesting, is that going to be adequate to maneuver and get out? And okay.
Yes, because it was like half on the grass and half on the driveway. So when we looked at how much space we would need, the people at Magic Seal said that this would be adequate as far as spacing.
Okay.
Mr. and Mrs. Stevens, do you, with regard to the 36-foot wide driveway, do you feel that your needs could be met with a smaller width, or is this what you need for your goal?
I think this is what we need for parking and safety of the vehicles. I think it's adequate.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from members of the board? Heather, are there any questions from anybody in the Zoom audience? Or here?
I am seeing nothing.
Okay, anybody here in the physical audience? Nope. With that, this application is closed. Mr. Harrington?
Mr. Chairman, with regard to applications ZBA 2021-021 and 2021-022 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing. 2, has considered all relevant information. 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings of fact. 1, the variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties. It will replace gravel and mud and improve overall look of the property. And the changes at the back of the driveway, there's also significant tree cover that blocks some of the expanded area. 2, the variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, given the size of the lot and quantity of cars. 3, the variance requested is not substantial. The increase of driveway width is only a portion of the entire driveway. The variance will not have negative effects on physical or environmental conditions. In fact, it will improve an existing water drainage and mud condition. 5, the difficulty relating to the variance was self-created, given the car quantity at the home, but the drainage issue was not. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
Second.
That was definitively seconded by Jesse. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Joy.
nice day. Great. Next one we have is 2021-023 by Plug Power, requesting a third sign panel. John, this is a Zoom. I know that. I saw the building.
Yes, my name is Dan O'Connell, and I'm the site manager for the Gigafactory, 1025 John Street.
Welcome. Thank you for that.
So can you tell us a little bit about the sign that you're going to put in there?
And what we're looking to do is put a sign out front, but it has a slight variance. As you know, Plug Power is very interested in our environmental footprint, and so we wanted to put a solar panel on top of the sign in order to light it at night. In order to do that, in order to get enough power, we had to be just a slight variance on a little bit wider sign than is currently in the regulations. So we're asking for a variation. We use this same sign at all of our other sites, and so we'd like to stay consistent. I think it's a 30-inch wide sign, and the third edge would be the front edge where we would put our logo. And it's pretty far from the street, so we want to make sure it was visible and lit up at night. So that's the variance that we're asking for.
Now, you said that it was going to be solar. Is there going to be any electricity out to that sign too, or no?
No, just the solar.
Solar? Okay.
The lights that you have in there are constant, meaning they don't flash or change colors or anything, correct?
That's correct.
Sir, with the third side, so where you're going to put your logo, if I understood the drawing correctly, it'll take up about 2 square feet of space on the sign?
Yeah, it's in the road facing flat space in the front of the sign facing the road is where the logo will go.
Okay, and while we're on this, this might be more of a question for our lawyer on the board. Being that the sign goes in perpetuity with the property, can we condition this variance that the third side should not be used for more than 2 square feet of space? Just thinking about how this could be used in the future.
I think that's a reasonable statement. Eric, do you have any?
Sorry, I guess I'm not understanding. He can only use part of the sign in the future?
No, I think for clarity, and correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, because it's the third sign that they're asking for the variance for.
Right.
The concern that we always have with signs is that they don't get out of control, and then the third sign's a giant thing in the future if they ever leave here. whether they grow and outgrow it or they leave for some other reason. So Jesse's question is it worthwhile to put a notation in there that it can't exceed the size of this existing sign?
Right, like that they can't have more than 2 square feet of content on that extra side, because that's all that this applicant needs. My concern is in the future, somebody doing some type of ostentatious, use of that sign.
I
Yeah,
mean,
you can definitely limit the size of the sign and the content on it.
Okay, thank you, Eric. If Mr. Migliorini, if you could put that into the write-up,
and I would call it 4 square feet because it's 24 by 24.
that's fine with me.
And we're doing this just for the sake of the applicant, just so that future issues don't come up with this signage, since it goes forever with the property.
That's the third sign you want that on, right?
Only the third sign that we're talking about, yes.
Oh, that's right.
Are there any other questions from the members of the board? Are there any questions from the audience, Heather, that you have on Zoom?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. John, are you prepared or do you want to?
We're ready. No, we're ready.
Let's do it.
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application ZBA 2021-023 for an area variance, I move to approve. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefits to the application versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood or detriment to the nearby properties, as it is an industrial park and there are other signs on other properties. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. They're basically replacing the existing sign that's already there. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not result in a negative effect to the physical or environmental conditions, as the sign will also be solar powered. The difficulty related to the variance was self-created, but they're replacing an existing sign. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves. And be it further resolved that this approval shall be subject to the following conditions: that the third sign will not exceed 24 by 24 feet.
Second.
Seconded by Jesse.
Can we, I'm sorry, you said 24 by 24 feet
24 by 24 or 4 feet.
or 4 feet?
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. 24 by 24.
It's
is
way
pretty big.
bigger, yes. So,
Sorry.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
Good looking sign.
Yeah.
It is sharp.
Nice.
All right. Now we have 2 variances, 2021-025 and 2021-026. And Beth, I think, oh, I'm sorry, this is Jared Gould. While we're waiting for that, all the existing findings of fact, if you guys could forward those to me. So I don't forget.
Are they?
Jared, are you on? He's logged in. He's been logged in for a long time. I don't know where he went. His video and microphone is off right now.
I guess we can come back to that in a minute if we need to.
Okay, I'll let you know when I see him.
Okay. So, hang on, I just skipped something here. I did. Okay. Next, we have 2021-027 and 2021-028. And I am apologizing up front if I say this incorrectly. Kandahanda Katariyaya. And I'm sorry if I said that wrong. Please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Karananda Kadaria and 70 Brockwood Park.
Thank you. And
West Henrietta, 14586.
thank you very much. Welcome. Heather, I know this is yours, but maybe can I start this?
Yeah, no, we're welcome to.
So you have two applications that you're asking for. One of them is for a driveway width of 27 feet, which is shown in the drawings. One of them is for a driveway extension into the right of way, which is expected to be 20 feet, but you're asking for 27, and effectively making this straight. There are a few things that have changed a little bit since you've submitted these requests, and I'm going to give you a choice for something here. So application 2021-028, according to the Highway Department, will not be approved at that step. So the Highway Department has told us and given us information that the extension past the right-of-way of 27 feet wide will not be approved for safety reasons for the corner that you're on, as well as for some potential infrastructure that's underneath that piece of driveway. You cannot go wider than the 20 feet with a flare out to 24. So that one, my recommendation to you is to withdraw that one application, because even if we passed it, it will get denied before it gets built, which is not the most common thing that we see, but this is something we've been informed recently. So I suggest that you would remove that, withdraw that piece of this application.
So that would be 2021-028.
Did you understand what I was saying?
Yes, I did.
So is it okay I would request that you withdraw 2021-028.
So, so if we have to do that, is that possible? So I probably have to apply for the new variant also. How about like extension of, more towards the garage, on the side of the garage? What would be that?
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we ask you the questions that we're going to ask you?
Okay, sure.
Learn more, and then before we close this, let's re-ask the question and see if we can figure out what's needed.
Sure.
Is that okay?
That's okay.
Okay. Heather, with what we know, please start and go down this path.
Okay. So in your application, you're requesting essentially just for 2021-027, but that is for the driveway width of 27 wide, whereas 20 is allowed by code. So that's what you are initially requesting. And the purpose in your application, you stated that it was for to not park on the sidewalk, as it's become an issue with your neighbors, and you have to move it for snow removal and those type of purposes. That's what your application states. Is there any other information you want to give to us, the board members?
So yeah, it's the same thing. So we have a 3-car existing, and now like this year they didn't even came even close to my driveway. So I got to take care of all the snows onto the corner and the property line to my side, because they just stopped doing it because I can't. There's no way I can park without blocking the sidewalk. So that's the pretty much biggest concern, and I don't want to just piss them off every single time when they came to clean the sidewalk.
Right.
Also, parking in a street is not really good for me also, because of we're in the corner lot and pretty much a lot of traffic going on. So we rather just widen a little bit so we can feed the 3 cars, so we don't have no problem with neighbors, also the snow removal company.
Okay. So given the recent news of withdrawing your application 28, are you going to still be able to reconfigure the driveway to have the 20 feet and then up to the 27?
Probably we could, if we able to, do the side extension after when we pass the sidewalk, that could be work for us. So we're just trying to figure out if we have enough space to just turn over the 3rd car. There will be work for us in this scenario, because I don't want to go with against the highway and patrolling and get trouble in future again.
Right.
So your if we approve this 27-foot width, it will only be able to go to the right of way. I'm repeating just for clarity. It will only be able to go to the right of way, at which point it has to narrow down to 20 feet wide. It can flare at the ends to 24. That should be enough for 3 cars in width. Are there any other needs that you have? Do you park cars in the garage? And I assume it's a 2-car garage right now.
Yeah, but we have like a lot of stuff and we have shelves in the garage, so we can't able to
All
do it.
cars are out.
Yeah, all cars are out.
And you did mention just now that you were putting next to the garage. So past so you're,
So if
next to the
that would
garage,
help a little bit, if we have like not able to do the wide enough, like from the beginning, that could help a little bit if we can go a little bit like over there on the garage side.
okay. 'cause
So
that
we
would-
can't approve that on this variance. That would be a separate
That'd be
So
variance.
that would be separate.
They
right?
wouldn't need a variance for that,
Oh, they wouldn't? 10 feet, right?
up to 10 feet. But the applicant, he has to understand that that area next to the garage, if you decide to use that as driveway, it is not designed by code to allow automobile parking there.
It would be for
So
a
it's for
boat.
like a boat on a trailer or
Trailer.
a camper, but you cannot park your day-to-day driver next to the garage
Yep.
on the extension.
I understand.
Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
So with that, I don't suggest going for that unless you have a boat or a trailer or something.
Okay.
So I think the appropriate request that I have for you is go through with the 2027 application if we choose to approve that. And then 2028, I still recommend withdrawing unless there's something else that you know of that I should be aware of.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay. So with that said, are there any more questions from members of the board?
So just to make sure, you understand that that's 24 and then you can flare out to 27.
Yes.
So you can still fit your 3 cars, but when that one car needs to back out, it's not straight down, it's in that
Yes,
flare.
yep. I
In the
understand
20
that.
feet.
Okay.
But just for more clarity,
Unfortunately.
hopefully, is that it could be 24 and then 20 and then 27?
And the driveway will be 27.
Okay, so from the street side, it could be flared to 24, but has to come into 20. And then if approved, it could go to the 27 with the
At the
variance.
right of way, then that's the flare starts there.
So the problem they have also is the right of way in this drawing is, I think it's partially into this flare that they're asking for. And so, are you looking at the picture, Kevin?
Yes.
Do you agree that the right of way comes around the curve too?
The thick black line you're looking at is the right of way.
Oh,
good,
okay, I didn't,
Okay. Thank you. Highway boundary.
ah,
Thank you, Kevin.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that said, Heather, you've got a few notes to write, I think, correct?
do.
So we'll close this application, but we need 1 minute for Heather to finish her thoughts.
Okay.
And there's no resident comments, by the way.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry. Thank you, Heather.
Anybody here?
Oh, anybody in the audience too? Man, I just skipped that for this. No, we look good from that standpoint.
Mr. Chairman, during workshop, you discussed the line of sight easement. Do you have any comments on that?
Valid point. There is a line of sight easement that your driveway proposal goes through. It's drawn out on your survey. And, line of sight at the ground level isn't really a problem, but the concern is parking the cars down there. Maybe we should make a suggestion in the extra resolutions. You already did it?
The driveway will not be within the line of sight easement.
Okay, so the other thing that you will understand, we're gonna write that your driveway will have to follow the line of sight thing here, which will make sense when it's drawn out, because you're gonna have a little bit of a curve there at the end, which you're gonna need anyways to get to the 20-foot width. So that'll be a smart thing to have, and that's what we're gonna require in the resolution.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good catch, Heather. Thanks, Kevin.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA-2021-027 with an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as the homes in the neighborhood have widened driveways. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The variance requested is substantial. However, the driveway width will accommodate the applicant's needs. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions, as the driveway will be in line with other houses in the neighborhood. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. One second. Was self-created, however, it will allow for access to the sidewalk, and be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve as presented, the variance as presented, and be it further resolved that this approval shall be subject to the following conditions. The driveway does not exceed the width of 27 feet, and the right-of-way does not exceed 24 feet. The driveway will not be within the line of sight easement.
So it's 20. She covered it with saying it's not going to be inside the line of sight. The driveway itself, not the south side. Okay.
I'll second it if nobody else has.
Seconded by Christian. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? This motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Kevin's going to give you something.
Did we officially withdraw the other application?
I would also, Heather, to withdraw that, do I just request it's withdrawn, or do we have to do something special?
I believe that he just needs to formally speak that he acknowledges that he's withdrawing his application number 28.
Are you willing to please acknowledge that you are okay withdrawing application number 2020 or 2021-028?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so he has acknowledged that they're willing to withdraw that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're all set. Have a good day. And Kevin's going to show you a
Have a
little
good
piece
one.
of information here. Okay. Next, we're going to do 2021-029-030-031 Middle Road Mini Storage. And Jesse, this will be your lead.
Yes. Wait to hear from the people here.
I think it's David Turner that we're looking for.
I've got James Creticos. I'm with BME Associates. David Turner is also on the Zoom call with us. Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here. Basically, what we're doing is we're looking to get some 3 variances for this project site reapproved. During last year, we kind of had in 2020, there were plans to start construction at the beginning of the year. With COVID occurring, we kind of got put on an unplanned pause for a while. We were looking to get started toward the end of last year, but during the shuffle with everything going remote, we lost track of tracking the variance approvals, which had expired after the year. So it would be May 19th of last year. So with that, now that COVID's kind of calmed down and we're looking to get going with this project again here this summer. So we just were recently at the planning board on April 20th, and they granted us another site plan extension. So we're here back this evening resubmitting for the same 3 variances that this board granted to us in 2019. So these are a front and rear setback variance on the mini storage building. This allows us to fit the buildings the way we need to in the site, as well as push them further back into the site toward the rear property line, which is abutted by the New York State Thruway, or I'm sorry, 490. Or is that 390? I'm sorry. get my locations all mixed up. And then the other variance that we're looking for is a front setback variance for the little kiosk building, which is, it's an unmanned unit. So basically the cars will be able to come in, you'll be able to put a credit card in and get like a key pass into the site. So here's a rendering that we prepared when we were going through the original applications. The little yellow orange marker kind of down by the lower portion, that's the kiosk building. That is what we're asking for a 29.5-foot variance on. Then the kiosk buildings, if you zoom in a little bit, the industrial zoning site or setback lines, as well as what we're proposing, are shown there. So you can see in the rear of the building, you know, we're pushing the buildings back away from the road another about 30 feet or so. But to get these buildings to configure into the site because of the awkward shape, we do need the front setback variance as well. And the board was gracious enough to grant all three of these when we were here in 2019. So we are excited to hopefully get this project going in the next couple months here and get the facility built and active. So I know Dave's here if you guys have any questions about the business, and I'd be happy to field any other questions regarding engineering, planning, anything like that.
All right, great. Thank you, sir. I appreciate, so my name is Jesse Redwell. I was not on this board in May of 2019, but I appreciate all the detail that you provided in the application to kind of make it easy for me to get up to speed on your project. My only question for you, so you mentioned that, you know, you got delayed because of COVID. You know, do we have kind of your word that you're going to start construction on this and not be back before us in 2023 looking for another extension?
Yes, I believe so. I know Dave has, there's a contractor on board and we are looking to get some things. There's a couple final items we need to clear up before we can do ground disturbance with our SWIP and things like that. But like I said, we are looking to get this facility built this summer. So we will be hopefully breaking ground here in the next couple months.
Okay, thank you. That was my only question.
I have two questions. One, I noticed you have a whole row. I was on the board at the time, but I want to re-ask this. I see you have a whole row of trees there on the, I guess it would be the north side.
Mm-hmm.
Are those still planned to be pretty dense so the neighbors don't have the, you know, the potential negative effect of a commercial space next door?
Yes, so we haven't changed the site plan at all. With this application we resubmitted, we actually gave you guys our signed site plan. So when the planning board extended it, the buffer between us and that residential home was probably one of the key things that they were discussing. So with this, we are proposing the exact same tree line in that area, which is evergreens that should be, you know, once they get matured, will provide a visible screen year round.
And I had another one, but I forgot, so I'll get the questions from board members, and I think there might be one from the audience.
I actually have a question in regards to lighting. Are there going to be lights in this facility that are on all night, or is this all just down lighting to a specific time?
It is a 24-hour facility, so there is some lighting. It is only builded mounted lighting, and they are generally have just a direct throw pattern down. It's mainly for security purposes, so they can have cameras and things to monitor the facility because it is an unmanned facility.
Okay, so the lighting would all be down direct.
Correct. Yeah, and that was all reviewed from the planning board as part of the site plan approval process.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Are there any questions from members of the audience, whether in person or on Zoom? Oh, please come up to the podium and announce your name and address for the record.
Hi, I'm Melissa Grove. I live at 433 Middle Road. And I remember meeting Dave. He's very nice. He came to the door, gave me a letter. Just processing change coming, which, you know, I'm actually thankful that a mini storage unit would probably be quiet. And with that change, I was, you know, concerned with the view. How tall would the trees be? Would it be one row? Would it be two? Would be better. So our view, thinking of traffic, we have like a boat trailer. I don't think we would have any block in view, but I guess I'd like to look at your picture more closely now, if I could. And then really, like my big question, which you may have in the back of your mind with building plans, what kind of, and I'm thinking of water here, fire prevention, we're on wells. So I understand that's maybe not a zoning question, but it's a question I have as a neighbor. For fire prevention, would you have like a well and sprinklers, or could we get town water? Right now, I brought show and tell. This is like really random, but I'm going to show you. So there's a variety of well water. When I was small and I grew up in Leroy, we had really good drinking well water. Where we are now, it's terrible. So, this is, I don't know if you can see. This is what happens to my dishes in the dishwasher with the hardness. And so I have to get the vinegar. So I use white vinegar and I mix some water and get it off. So anyways, that's really, my concern isn't really with the mini storage, although change is hard, but I just really want to advocate for my home and my neighbor's home, and we would hope that we can get some public water, public sewer, and I don't know if that's something we can work together, if that is even like a concern of yours with mini storage. And now I feel like I'm rambling on, but yeah, I did read in the Henrietta Highlights about the COVID Relief Act projects, and I did see portions of Middle Road may be considered, but I feel like we're in such a little armpit of Middle Road. We're like before, let's see. So I guess we're north of the thruway, right? I'm not like.
You would be north of this facility that they're asking about.
Yeah. So I'm just, anyways, going on a tangent about water. So back, like that's my questions, how many rows of trees? And do you think we can work together on water, or am I like crazy about water? I don't know.
Well, I'd like to summarize what I heard just to be sure we're all on the same page. The questions that you have for the applicant are very specifically two things, but one of them I think we can address more than the other. The one thing that you asked is the trees. Is it going to be one row or two rows or something else? So I think that's one question that we will get an answer for here in a moment. And actually the drawing that we have, and is it something we can share with her? Is that something?
It was
Andrew?
on display, but,
So-
so you're the house that's right here?
Right next to them?
So that's actually the Hermit of Middle Road. And no, I'm at 433. So I'm the third. Okay. I didn't
So
mean
you're-
that
What
to
you're
be
saying is
rude.
on the record, so just.
How many houses away from this are you then?
3
3 to the north?
to the north.
Okay,
Towards
so
Lehigh.
there is a row of trees on the north side. So your house would be over here.
Yes.
So there is a row of trees planned for the north side
Yeah.
of this development.
Yeah.
So you would be the third house away from that development.
Yes. So, and our lot is pretty far back. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jessica.
Yeah, so we spend a lot of time in our backyard. So even though it seems like like we're spread out with being the third house, I do have direct view of that. So if I'm looking at green, I'm happy. I just don't want to look at an ugly like cement building. I just like to keep it appealing.
So looking at it, they have planted pretty much the entire length of any of those buildings.
That would
is
be,
what was
that would make
proposed.
me happy. Yeah.
The expectation, we don't have an expectation here of tree height or things of that nature. So growth might be something that would, take a little bit of time to get to. But their intent from the drawings and what I asked specifically in the testimony here is that there would in fact be at least a row of trees there. And his testimony back to us was that it would be of some evergreen nature, which to me implies that it's dense.
I prefer evergreens for year-round coverage.
Correct. And so there's a benefit there and they would design that for you and the neighborhood's benefit.
Okay.
The other thing that I will mention here that looking at the drawing, which you now have a copy of, they put the buildings to the far side of the lot. And I think with the intent of not having it back right up to the edge and have light pollution, which is one of the concerns you're referring to, that is something that I see in this drawing. I'm not an engineer or an architect, but when I look at it and other ones we've seen, that's a typical tool that's used in the architect's bag to make it so that you don't have the flood of light or less light. There will be a change, right? This is absolutely something that happens. So I don't have an expectation that you won't see it. But I do have an expectation that they look like they're taking reasonable steps to mitigate your concerns that you're talking about. The other component, I don't know that we can really answer here with regards to public sewer and water. I do understand your concern about hard water and the potential environmental impact that you're expressing a concern with. And we need to address that with our findings here. That is something that we can discuss. And I think we'll ask for some feedback from BME as well. If there's any consideration for that or anything that we should be aware of. But the reality is they're in the same potential limitation that you are. It's hard for someone, even a business, to say, hey, I want to build a water main that comes out this distance. There's times it happens, but that is a difficulty. So we'll ask some feedback there.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you're asking that I missed in my assessment of your questions?
I'll just take a quick peek here. Yeah, no, I think my questions are answered and just, guidance on the water. I think thank you for showing me the visual. Here's.
Absolutely, and you can have that.
Can I? Thank you.
So BME, if there's any feedback that you have, I don't know what you're planning to do with regards to water or things of that nature. I'd love to hear feedback on that so that we can at least understand it.
Absolutely. So I'll start with the trees. As you described, yes, there are a row of evergreens, a mix of, white fir, white spruce, and white pines that are going to be planted along that row. Typical planting height is going to be 6 to 8 feet to start, and obviously they'll grow to build in that buffer. The building heights are going to be less than 15 feet, so it should be screened pretty effectively, within a couple of years. But they're about as densely planted together as our landscape architect will allow us to do. But the planning board was confident that, that will be enough of a screen to address, the concerns. I know the neighbor who was immediately north was at some of the planning board meetings back in 2019, I believe. In regards to the water and sewer, this also came up, I think, when we were going through site plan approval process. The town engineer, Chris Martin, had kind of mentioned at the time, there was some considerations about possibly bringing it down Middle Road. However, we don't have any water or sewer needs for the facility here. We don't have any offices or bathrooms on site. So we don't need to have any method of sewage disposal either. So there is no water or sewer components with this. In terms of fire protection, it does comply with the New York State fire codes, and it has been reviewed by the Town of Henrietta Fire Marshal and has approval and sign off from them as well. So unfortunately, there is nothing that we have current plans for or even needs to bring water or sewer down Middle Road. So hopefully that addresses your questions.
That's a big bummer, but thank you for explaining.
Sorry for bringing the bad news.
So, yeah, I think I'll have to attend another town meeting to talk about water. So
That's an appropriate step. And of course, you can talk to the town board members. One of them's here right now. I'm not telling you to harass him or not, but he's a wonderful gentleman right there, Rob Barley. Hey, please, Mr. Barley, you're always welcome to speak here. Nope. I'm confident you can do it.
Oh, my glasses, Bob.
You hear him, Rob? You want John's glasses?
You can use mine if it doesn't work.
Okay.
If that one doesn't work, Rob, I've got the other microphone on the table in the bag.
In the bag.
The bag right here.
next to you, on the table.
Turn around.
Turn around, turn around. There you go.
Same problem?
You just have to hold the button down and then you'll see it flash.
You have to hold it down, Rob.
Oh, yeah.
Go. Rob Barley, Town Board. Your question is very interesting. And there is a project, and I can't recall which one, that might be on Middle Road in the future. I don't know if it's the Masons with some housing for a project they're doing that may be on Middle Road, and we are requesting they come down with some sewer, and maybe your laterals will be able to come up. I don't remember. Do you remember what project that is?
It is, yeah, I believe you're
Is
right.
it the Masons?
Yes.
I'm not sure when that will happen, but if so, there will be opportunity to connect.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
So that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. And thank you for your testimony here and feedback and information. We appreciate it.
And thank you all too.
I hope you have a nice day. Are there
I
any?
have a person online, Bob.
Please.
Okay, the floor is yours, Jay.
All right, I'm sorry. My name is Jasmine. I didn't type my full name in. I was just listening in, and I am actually very close to Melissa. We are at 425, so we are just down another house. They're our direct neighbor. I understand we get a lot of noise and some light from the thruway and 390 there, but what type of lighting are we talking about here? Are they going to be tall floodlights? Are there any types of variances that they're going to put on how high and how bright this 24-hour lighting can be?
It's just builded mounted lighting. So this lighting is going to be mounted on the buildings. It's basically going to be above the garage elevation. So I believe it's about a 10 to 15, somewhere in the 10 to 15 foot height range. They're basically just wall packs that shine light directly down. There's no light throw off the property by any means, and there's no light poles or anything like that. So there shouldn't be no impact at all to any of the adjacent properties.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Would you consider the lighting to be similar to like a typical garage, like at my house or somebody else's?
Yeah, except it'll be downward orienting, so you won't have the random neighbor with their light shining across the street through your window situation.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Nothing at this time.
Wonderful. With that, this application, I believe, is closed. Sounds like.
I think it is.
And Jesse, if you would do the honors.
Yeah, I got the fun ones tonight.
You did.
All right, Mr. Chairman, with regard to application numbers 2021-029, 030, and 031 for area variances, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Zoning Board of Appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variances will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as multiple nearby properties have similarly smaller setbacks. The variances cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as no other alternatives will meet the applicant's needs. The variances requested are substantial, but the applicant has adequately justified the need for the variances. The variances will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions, as the proposed site layout thoroughly preserves green space. The difficulty relating to the variances was self-created, And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variances as presented.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Beth Mossworth. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Motions carry, I apologize.
Thank you guys very much. You have a wonderful rest of your night.
You as
You
well.
too.
With that, I'd like to circle back, Heather. Do we have the Goulds, Jared Gould available?
No, and he disappeared offline about 15 minutes ago. I just sent him an email asking, I hope everything's okay. So I'll keep my eye out, let you know.
Thank you. With that, let me go back to my order here. Oh, 2021-032, Michael Richtmeyer. Welcome, sir. As you've probably heard, please state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Michael Rickmeyer, 74 Round Hill Road, Henrietta.
Welcome. It looks like you are requesting a 33-foot front setback because you are going to be building a deck.
Correct. Yep.
Could you tell us a little bit about this? What's your intent? What's it going to be made of?
Sure.
All those type of
Yeah,
things.
it's 8-foot deep deck. Putting in for the 20 feet, we're probably going to end up at 16 just with the aesthetics of the house. But the setback is just for the 8 feet, just because my house is built at 41.8 from the road. So I can only put on a 1.8 foot deck without a variance. Basically, we have 5-year-old twin girls. They love to play out in our front yard. My wife and I enjoy being out there with them, but we currently just have to sit on our front stoop. So we just like to have a front deck out there to enjoy the time out with them. And Round Hill Road is part of the Indian Hills neighborhood, and there's a lot of walkers. So we say hi to everybody that goes by the street and just be a nice place to sit out in the evening.
Wonderful. What will the deck be made of?
Sure. The foundations will be ground treated, pressure treated lumber supports, and then the top will be composite materials, composite decking, vinyl railings.
And how high will this be off the ground?
It's actually not going to be very high. It's only going to be, like maybe like a 1 step up to the door, because it's just going to match the existing height of the door that goes into the house now.
Yep.
For that, and we're also going to have a fascia along the bottom so that we don't have an exposed gap between the ground and the deck, just for aesthetics and maintenance and that sort of stuff.
Sounds like it will be very nice.
Protect the wood underneath.
Any other questions from board members?
Nope.
Okay. Heather, are there any questions from Zoom audience?
Nothing.
And any questions from members of the audience here? Sounds like this is going to be very nice, so.
Great, thank you.
So with that, with regards to application number 2021-032 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variances will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to the nearby properties. The minimal variance for this porch will result in a friendly neighborhood enhancement. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. The desire to enjoy the front yard with minimal offset is the easiest solution to this need. The variance requested is not substantial. Again, this variance is minimal in scope. The variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. This variance will have limited effect on the environment or anything negative for that matter. And the difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created. This variance is due to an existing house offset that leaves little choice for a deck without a variance. So, and be it further resolved that based upon the findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Beth. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I hope you have a nice day.
Good night.
Enjoy.
Great. 2021-033. Iab Kayashu. I hope I said that correctly. And once you come up, please state your name and your address and speak loudly into the microphone, please.
My name is Eop Caruso. I am located at the property 635 Bailey Road.
Welcome.
Sir, my name is Tim Harrington. We spoke on the phone.
Yes, sir.
So to summarize, you're requesting a 30-foot wide driveway where 20 is allowed for the purpose of having a turnaround. We discussed that you have 2 cars at the home and the intention is to turn around, not for parking. Tell us a little bit about why you feel you need a turnaround, if you would.
The purpose of that is because of the safety issue. Bailey Road it's busy, especially on the winter. They come very fast and they don't see you. When you come from the driveway. So we have incidents many times. So we want for turnover and we wanted to go out to the front to the street. That's the only purpose.
You also share with me that you looked at the alternative of putting on the other side, but there was insufficient space to the neighbor's property. And so that where you have it now was the solution within your own property.
Yes.
Okay.
Excellent. I appreciate the fact that you did that. That's not the way people usually pick it, and I think that's very kind of you. Are there any questions from members of the board? Are there any questions, Heather, that you see from members of the audience?
Nothing at this time.
With that, this application is closed. Mr. Harrington?
Mr. Chair, with regard to application number ZBA 2021-033 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as a turnaround on a busy street is both logical and typical to the area. 2, the variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. There's simply not enough space for alternatives turning around. 3, the variance requested is not substantial. It is what is necessary for a turnaround. 4, the variance will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. And 5, the difficulty relating to the variance was not self-created. The request is for a safe solution to living on a busy street. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Redlow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Enjoy.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Have a nice day, sir. Next, we're going to do 2021-034, Donald and Ruth Gerbrocht. If I said that correctly.
Very close, very close.
I'm the butcher of names today, so I apologize.
No, that was very close. That was good.
For our sake, would you please state your name and your address for the record?
My name is Donald Gerbrocht, and our address is 143 Candleford Heights.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So the size shed you're requesting is 140 square foot?
Yes,
And that's going to be placed in the backyard, correct?
yes, that's correct.
Is it going to be on pad or crushed stone or anything like that?
Yeah, we're gonna have the area. I think they provide crushed stone to level out the area underneath the shed.
Any electricity going to be run back there?
No.
Okay.
Also, another question is, how high is this shed going to be?
Oh, I'm sorry, I don't have that information. If I had to guess, maybe it's like a single story Dutch style shed, so it might be 12 feet. I'm guessing. I'm not sure.
Okay, no, that's fine.
And sir, will this shed be large enough to meet your needs moving forward?
Yes, yes, that's the intent. On our previous property, we had a pool, and probably not next year, but maybe the year after that, we intend on putting in a pool, and there's a lot of things that we need to store in the shed and other gardening equipment, etc.
Great.
How far off the property line is it going to be?
Oh, yeah, we spoke with the town, and I guess the rear line of our property, it needs to be at least 11 feet, I suppose. So we're probably going to put it like 12, so pretty close to the back edge of the property. And then we had even be 4 from the side, so we'll probably just be 4 or 5 from the one side too. It'll be even one back corner. Yeah, I mean, we're going to try to get it as close as we can to the corner, but
You're aware of the drainage easement in the back of your property?
yes, and I think that's why they suggested 11 feet to make sure that you steer clear of that.
Just want to make sure about that too. Okay.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Chamberlain. Any other questions here from the board? Any questions from members of the audience that you can see, Heather?
Nothing.
With that, this application is closed. John?
Mr. Chairman, with regards to application ZBA 2021-034 for an area variance, I move to approve. Where the zoning board has duly advertised and held public hearings, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefits to the application versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community and related to such variance. Now therefore be resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of facts. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the characteristic of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. Applicant needs room. They wanted to have a 3-car garage, but they weren't able to do that, and they need the room for their storage of outside furniture, lawnmowers, etc. The variance requested is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect to the physical or environmental conditions. The difficulty related to the variance was not self-created. A smaller lot, it needs room for storage as they couldn't add a 3rd-car garage. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Chamberlain. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you
very much.
What was that?
Thank you.
Thank you. I hope you have a nice day.
You too.
Perfect. Next, we have application 2021-035 by Eric Castle. Mr. Castle, are you on the line?
Yes.
Welcome. It was nice speaking to you the other day.
Yep, you too.
So in our conversation, we spoke that you are going to be adding a fence here for some privacy and security for your family. Could you give us a little bit of an outline of what you're going to be doing, specifically your goal with materials and things of that nature?
Yep, so the fence is going to come out towards the road shell edge on the side of our property. It's going to come out from the house about 22 feet, which will still put it about 37 or so feet from the road. And then it's going to go back to our rear property line and then down that as well. It's going to be about 6 feet tall. And then it's either going to be a vinyl fence or a wood fence, depending on the price of lumber when we actually build it.
Okay. Is 6 foot necessary, or can you do this with, 4 foot or something of that nature?
We would need 6 feet because we're also building a deck in the back, which is going to be about 2 feet off the ground. And what we're looking for is privacy once we're sitting on top of the deck from the road, which is why we want 6 feet.
Understood. Are there any questions from members of the board? No. Thank you for that. Are there any questions from members of the audience, Heather?
Nothing at this time.
Okay. With that, this application is closed. So With regards to application number 2021-035 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has duly advertised and held a public hearing, has considered all relevant information, and has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to the nearby properties. The fence will have minimal effect on the character of the neighborhood and provide the security and privacy needed. The variance cannot be achieved by some other alternative. The variance could be avoided if the applicant shrunk the area, but the need is there for the larger fence. The variance requested is not substantial. This variance is reasonable in scope for the homeowner and the requested needs. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. This variance could potentially have a little bit of negative effect on the sightlines. However, it is 37 feet back to the to the side, so it should not affect the intersection. The difficulty relating to variance was self-created. However, the request makes sense for the use of this property. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve the variance as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Miglerini. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed by Mr. Redlow. The motion carries. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Okay. Next, we have 2021-036, Peter Caruso. Welcome back. Please state your name and address for the record and make sure we can hear you well.
Yeah, well, all right. So Peter Caruso, 8 Falcon Drive.
Welcome. Mr. Chamberlain, you want to
Sure,
start?
Mr. Caruso, I'm Chamberlain here.
Hey, what's up?
So basically you want to have a chain link fence around your backyard. I know you got a lot of trees, bushes
Yeah.
and everything, so it wouldn't be very visible from the road.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it's going to be behind those trees and it's going to be 4 feet, black vinyl chain link fence.
Black vinyl, okay.
Yeah, it's going to come off the front of the house. That would be the north side of the house, I guess. And then it would run straight like into that tree line and then go like down the tree line and then the whole back line of the property line.
The back line, okay, so basically just to keep your children and your dog in.
Yeah, I don't have, well, I want to get a dog, but not until we get the fence.
Oh, well, yeah,
So,
okay.
Yeah.
We get the fifth fence first.
Right. I got 6 chickens though, so they.
That's good. Yeah, I don't have any other questions.
Mr. Caruso, my only question is, so this fence will be chain link, so this is not for privacy, this is just for safety purposes?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just want to keep I got 4 kids, man. I got to keep them.
Yep,
wrinkled,
this
so.
makes sense to me. Thank you, sir.
What's the chicken to kid ratio?
Now it'd be, I don't know, like
1.5.
almost 1 to 1. So.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? I'm sorry. Heather, are there any questions from members of the audience?
No, there's not.
With that, this application is closed. We approve your chicken to kid ratio.
Write that down. Oh, okay. Mr. Chairman, with regard to application number ZBA 2021-036 for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variances. Now therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties, as the type of fencing proposed is common in residential neighborhoods. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative, as a 4-foot fence is needed to keep children and pets contained in the yard. The variances requested is not substantial, as the applicant is only requesting a fence 1 foot taller than the code allows.
If you're reading what I wrote, I'm really sorry.
Huh?
Oh, no,
No,
I'll shut up,
no,
sorry.
it's okay.
He's
And
trying to read his own
variances will not have a negative effect on physical or environmental conditions. Due to the mature trees and brush, the majority of the fence will not be visible. And the difficulty relating to the variance was self-created due to the applicant wanting a more secure yard. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the Zoning Board of Appeals hereby approves the variance as presented.
I'll second.
Seconded by Heather Robinson. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion carries.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Enjoy.
Have a good evening. I'm sorry, Chris.
Heather, did the Gulls ever get back to you via email?
No, I've not heard back from them at all, unfortunately.
What do we do with that? Hand them in and do it next month, or?
Yeah, they'll automatically be tabled, and I'll follow up with them tomorrow to find out what's going on.
So with that statement, could you guys give me, everybody on the board, give me the application 20 or 025?
Okay.
And then we have 3 more applications to deal with.
I think we're done, aren't we?
Almost.
Give me a minute. I mixed them up.
All right. With that, we have 3 applications to deal with, 2021-037, 038, and 039. Ms. Mossworth?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm sorry, let me start this.
Oh,
Miss
let me go ahead and.
Matthew and Heather Voss, please state your name and address for the record.
Matthew Voss, 511 Countess Drive, West Henrietta, New York, 14586.
Thank you. We make her.
And that's me. I'm Heather. I'm an applicant, not secretary anymore.
Got it. Thank you for attending.
Mrs. Boss, you applying for a driveway width variance along with a setback of 1 foot. Is that correct?
Yeah. So, man, I don't know if you want to talk or if you want me to.
You're more familiar with the setbacks of the rules, so you might explain it with better
Okay.
language.
Yeah, so basically in between our property and the backyard of the house on the corner of Anemone and Countess, there's a parcel of land that's a long strip that's actually owned by Riverton. They set it aside for trails in the future. Right now, it's a huge tree line that's pretty much overgrown. We've been taking care of it since we moved in a couple years ago. But our property line, we only have 10 feet between the edge of our garage to the edge of where that parcel strip comes through. And so to even construct an extension on our property, we don't even have the space because of the setback requirements that the code says. And we really need the extension to park the trailer so we can get out of the mud area.
Now you had tried other feasible alternatives by trimming trees and doing all sorts of things to get grass to grow.
Yeah, it's just not, it's the trees are really, really thick and tall through that area. And the way that the lot is positioned, you just don't get the sun through there. So we've tried every year putting grass seed down and it just gets torn up between the kids and the trailer.
And then that area has some drainage difficulties as well.
Yeah, right off of the side of the garage or where the water spouts come off of. And we found it hard to get the water to get away from the garage area. So we're hoping by putting the pavement with the blacktop or whatever, we're hoping that we can mitigate the drainage issues as well.
Okay, so the extension or where you want the driveway to extend past the garage, that's for the trailer, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there won't be any cars parked there. It'll just be the trailer.
But that will give you the adequate space that you need for the cars that you do have in the family.
Yes, we do have 3 adults in the household. My mom lives with us. So it is kind of a parking issue, sometimes getting in and out of the driveway. We have a very short driveway. So the extra space before the, the front of the garage would be used for parking, but then the extension would be only for the trailer.
And you've already gone before Riverton's architectural board?
Yep, we got the approval from that about a week or so ago, and I have the letter, submitted it to the building department.
Okay, great. That's all the
Jesse,
questions I have.
Jesse, do you want proof of that letter?
No, I trust that Mrs. Voss is familiar enough with our procedures to have submitted that properly.
Mr. Chair, I have not seen that document. It's just to go on record.
Mr. Wilson, I sent it to your staff member, Ashley Hogan.
I'll have to speak with Mrs. Hogan tomorrow.
Ooh, the plot thickens.
And I have the original files right here at my desk too, and it's in the file.
Okay.
Perfect.
All set.
So now I have to ask you a question in your official capacity. Is there anybody else on the Zoom that wants to talk about this?
No, I don't see anybody on YouTube or on Zoom.
Okay. Are there any other questions from members of the audience? Rob? Oh. Good news, the microphone is
Well,
on.
I'm just interested in knowing from Mr. and Mrs. Voss, how long is this trailer?
Matt, how long is the trailer?
Husband.
It's just a small 4x8 foot utility trailer that we use to get our stuff to camp and back.
That's great. All right, thanks a lot.
No problem, sir.
So I feel like we have completed the questioning and all the audience is okay with this. So with that said, Ms. Mossworth, would you please
Take it away.
take this application to the next step?
Certainly. Mr. Chairman, in regards to application ZBA 2021-037, 038-039, for an area variance, I move to approve as follows. Whereas the zoning board has, 1, duly advertised and held a public hearing, 2, has considered all relevant information, and 3, has considered the potential benefit to the applicant versus the potential detriment to the neighborhood or community in relation to such variance. Now, therefore be it resolved that the zoning board of appeals makes the following findings of fact. The variance will not result in an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties. With adding the driveway width, the area will have a visual betterment by reduction of usual muddy area, and the Riverton Architectural Review Board approval was obtained. The variance cannot be achieved by some other feasible alternative. Previous means to attempting grow grass have failed in attempt to solidify the area and reduce mud from poor drainage. The variance is not substantial. The variance will not have a negative effect on the physical or environmental conditions. By adding the driveway, removal of trees will not be needed to occur, and better drainage will improve an area around the driveway. The difficulty relating to the variance was self-created. However, the additional driveway area will resolve drainage needs and vegetative failures. And be it further resolved that based upon the above findings, the zoning board of appeals hereby approve as presented.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Redlow. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Opposed?
I'm
kidding.
The motion carries.
Kidding.
Thanks, guys.
Mr. Chairman, I make
saying aye.
Thank you, everyone.
motion that we adjourn at 8:46.
Did you approve?
Can I second?
I
that?
approved, yeah.
I'll second that.
I was
The-
just kidding there.
The meeting closes at 8:50 or 46.
And before the next meeting, the chairman needs an updated glasses prescription.
You're not kidding.
Before you guys head out, I do have one more comment on the discussion item. So it is rural residential. That's exact same district as the other Pacer Drive.
I agree.
So it's 2 acre
requirement
if it's got water and sewer at the road.
That they would have to put in.
Right.
And this is the one that's at the bottom of Treetop.
Yeah.
Right off of West Henrietta Road, yeah.
So is that the Three Sisters or is it to the right of that?
It's on the south side of Treetop.
Oh, okay.
So just, I mean, it's
It is
exact,
the same scenario anyways as that
Correct.
other one,
right,
which was 5 acres.
which, yeah.
Or give or
So
take.
they're looking at 1.4 acres divided by 3, you're pretty small, albeit, as Jesse mentioned, in line with the neighborhood.
But so was the other one.
But, well, the
Correct,
other
and
one
you
is,
guys, we had an
yeah.
issue with it, so. Yeah, basically.
Oh. about that.
but the other one, if they had come in and subdivided it, not by 3, but subdivided it by however many that they could have had, one goes against the other. The whole design was this green space initiative that
Which-
put it at.
We're talking about this now, but that is a problem if we're doing this without her listening to this thought, right?
Well,
I just want to make you guys understand that it's the same scenario. Actually, it's worse because it's less
Half the
acreage.
size almost.
And it's almost like these have gotten to the point of,
Hey, Heather, are you still there?
oh, I want to know what you think where I submit
Do
it.
you have my new badge?
Well, it was
my
discussion
decision
item, so
then, like,
Yeah, I'll bring them in when I come in.
Heather, are we still live?
Yes, because I wanted to make sure that Eric could hear this discussion.
Okay, good, thank you, because for open meeting laws, we need to be if we're discussing this.
Well, it's not an application.
Not an application.
So
Action item, right? So it should be live for transparency.
So just for sake of saying this, the thing that Beth just noted, which is valid, just because our discussion was one thing doesn't mean that that's a ruling.
correct.
Correct.
And, this is something that